Can you guys imagine if Little Samson like took the same path that Castlevania did? Like, eventually it made the jump to 3D. Eventually it made the gritty, like, angsty, like PlayStation 2 releases the way that Castlevania did. You'd have like, be like Little Samson. He'd be like, it's just Samson now.
Brock Samson now.
He's like punching people and stealing cars and stuff, and like,
it's not Samson anymore. It's damn son.
it's damn son. Samson, what happened to KO? He's been dead for years. He was a mouse. He only lived to 2 years old.
I ate him.
The cat got him.
It's just like, yeah, I don't know. It would have been great. Worlds that could have been.
I would say we're living in the worst timeline, but at least we did get Little Samson. So
it's just Samson now.
Slammin' Sammy.
welcome to the Cable Club. We're a retro video gaming podcast where three guys, 360 no-scope, head bell shot some wizards. And we're linking up to talk about the games we love. We're your hosts. I'm Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Little Dawn.
Little Dawn. And this is episode number 23. This, every two weeks... What did you call it, Dawn? I need you to remind me. You had a little cool acronym.
Oh. G42W. Game for 2 weeks.
I like
Our
it.
G42W this week is Little Samson.
Little Samson.
Samson.
He's like a little savage man. So get ready to upload data from us to you. But first, let's set the scene, boys. It's 1995. You've been wearing out that Super Nintendo all summer, playing awesome games like Mega Man X, Super Metroid, Super Mario World, the good stuff. Saturday morning rolls around, and you're excited to sleep in, but your father knocks and opens the door. He says, "Get dressed, we're going yard selling." So you groggily roll out of bed and put some shorts and a t-shirt on, and you were only interested in one thing. I know I was whenever we went yard selling. It's all about finding the sweet old games.
What you got in that attic, boy?
Oh, yeah.
Is that your kids went off to college and you're hucking their stuff?
Right. So after an exhausting morning of seeing old books and chinaware, hand tools, you finally reach a house with what looks like some promise. After scouring some of the boxes, you find one with some NES games, marked for about $5. Remember those days? You think to yourself, Nintendo? I haven't played that thing in ages. But a game sticks out to you. You didn't think you've ever seen this one before. It's called Little Samson. You pick it up, not expecting too much, but figured at least you get something out of it from the day in the heat. And once you get home, you pop it into your NES and get to work. You soon realize that this was a hidden gem. Going level to level with 4 different characters and a cool soundtrack, you just think to yourself, man, what a steal. And the rest was history.
And as
Could
it
you
turned out,
imagine?
Yeah.
It was quite the steal.
I know. It's like, was it $2,000 cart?
You know,
Yeah.
if you rented this from Blockbuster, it's definitely worth its weight in the late fees that you would have incurred just holding on to it.
Yeah. Or not even just like handing it over.
Also,
Like, sorry.
who is this lucky kid that has both an NES and a Super NES? I feel like back in the day, your parents were like, "What do you mean buy you a new Nintendo? Your Nintendo still works. You have one at home."
We have Nintendo at home.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for my story. I'm going to pass it over to you, Don. You got some exciting things?
Yeah. We got some announcements. So our year 2 of this podcast, you know, if you've been with us this whole past year, thank you. Thank you so much for sticking with us. It has been quite the ride for us, learning the ropes kind of, you know, we're definitely still learning.
Yeah,
our bearing as
absolutely, we are.
speakers. But next year is going to mark some major changes to our podcast. I mean, all 3 of our hosts are staying here, so don't worry. But, you know, you can expect some new branding, some new formats, new, and some continuity between some episodes. That's all I'm going to say for now. I don't want to spoil too much. As we get closer, we will reveal some more. But we're all very excited about it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna flip some stuff around, and I think it's gonna be a lot more enjoyable for not only us but for you listeners as well. We're all pretty excited.
Yeah, hopefully it is something to differentiate us a little bit, other than just sitting here reviewing games that have been reviewed before.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to talk about our Discord this week, and that's because there's been a lot of news coming through the Discord. I know some G4 2W periods, the Discord is relatively quiet, and
Yep.
there really isn't too much going on as far as news goes. But this time it seems like we're flush with it. First and foremost, guys, I just want to talk about this Emu Deck retro emulation console that you can get a hold of through GoFundMe. Like, I guess it's got, basically what it is like, if you're familiar with like retro emulation handhelds, or like retro emulation devices where you can like preload ROMs onto them and play. This one plugs into your TV. It's essentially like a mini PC that's geared up with the same operating system as the Steam Deck. And but it's designed to be plugged into your TV, not like
That's not handheld. Yeah.
So it's going to be like a Steam console, which I think is really, really cool. But the low end model plays like low lift Steam games. That's like $350. I feel like it's like maybe a little steep for that. And then like the higher end one's like $680 to $700, and it's supposed to play like a little bit higher end Steam games. I heard it's going to be like the same power level as like a Steam Deck, actually.
Which is fine, really, especially if it's, emulating older games. That's more than enough power. So I'm not sure if you mentioned it. So it comes with like everything, like all the emulators and games, or do you have to add all that stuff?
Oh, no, you have to put all that stuff on there.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure it already comes with the operating system, just because the articles I'm seeing on it talk about the operating system.
Okay.
So like it should be less like a computer that's hooked to your TV and more like a console. You just push the button and you start, you menu through and you play.
Not bad.
So,
That's a lot of money for convenience, I'd say.
I'm so glad you said that, because I feel the same. Like, I feel like the Steam Deck is around what, $700 if you get the higher end model.
Yeah, if you get like top of the end, it's like 700. Yeah.
I mean, just
yeah, or even like the Wii is a really good, really easy mod machine, I feel like. But
yeah.
Also, like, this thing, I don't know, did you guys see pictures of it?
I did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so it kind of looks like a Dreamcast, right?
Yeah,
like
it does.
They gotta reuse some of that old hardware that didn't get used.
Yeah, it's like a box, and it has 4 controller ports on the front, or what look like controller ports. I think they're actually micro USB ports.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. But it looks like it has like a disc tray on top too.
Yeah, it's shaped like that. I don't know that it actually works, but it does. It does look like it has a disc tray on top. Yeah. But that So I feel like the Steam Deck costs what it costs because it comes with a set of controls and a screen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all the parts for it like are kind of optimized for it, right? And they're probably niche use parts. I'm not that big of a tech guy, right? But presumably if it's a smaller form factor, all the things in it have to be smaller and work for it. And they wouldn't be things that you would stick in a big, desktop gaming rig, right?
Right.
So like, I don't know, I feel like in my mind that's where the price comes from, right? You pay for the convenience. I don't know if I could see myself dropping $7 on this thing.
Yeah, I mean, either. I mean, yeah, it's kind of nice, but like, as you guys said before, there's plenty of other things that can basically do the same thing. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I think I'd be more tempted to buy one of those things if it just came with everything. Like, it came with 8,000 games, and if it like eliminated that work, I could see myself maybe buying it, but like having to do all of that on top of, it's just not worth it to me.
I don't know. Be careful what you ask for, because you can buy those like crappy things online with like 250,000 games, and like they're not organized. Most of them are in foreign languages. Half of them don't actually work.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
Maybe.
So I'm more of a DIY guy myself. So
yeah.
No, it really just needs to be like the Sega channel.
Yeah.
Where you can stream the games.
I want Steam to actually make like a console, like get in on the console wars.
Well, so it should run Steam, right? So I think that in itself's pretty good. But can't you dock the Steam Deck?
Yeah, you can. and it gives you a little more power when it's docked. But I'm talking like I want like a Steam console that's like on par with like the Xbox Series and like PS5. Like I would buy that in a heartbeat because it's I have a hard time playing like PS5 games and anything like that because it's like my whole library is on Steam, and it's unfortunate because I feel like I'm kind of trapped because it's like all the time I just want to play what's on Steam because that's where all my whole library is. It's I know where all my games are, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's nice to have that front end. Yeah,
I really wish Steam would just make their own console. Like the Steam Deck is nice, yeah, but it's not as powerful as like a PS5. Like I don't really want to play like say like Spider-Man remastered or whatever on the Steam Deck because I know it's probably going to have like 30 FPS and whatnot. I'll just play that on my rig.
Yeah.
I guess another interesting thing I want to say about this piece is that, like, I guess I don't know if you guys are familiar with the channel Retro Game Core.
I can't say that I am.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give him a shout out. He's a pretty cool guy. It seems like who he runs this YouTube channel, and it's all just reviewing like any and all devices having to do with retro game emulation. So like his big thing is handhelds. Like basically every time a handheld releases, which is like every 5 minutes these days,
Pretty much, yeah.
he's reviewing it, and it's at like all price points. He's very methodical. He's very scientific. He's very
Wow.
smart, obviously. But I guess he had a hand in advising on this thing, and he was saying, and he's a pretty credible guy. That they only make like $50 in profit off of this thing. So I find that like astounding for what they're charging for this. Again, because I have to imagine that Valve is clearing that per unit.
I would think so. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it just feels like a price mismatch for what you're getting. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I couldn't justify $800.
It doesn't pass the wife test. I'm not getting it.
I've been meaning to get a new electric guitar and considering dropping like $1,000 on a decent one, and I can't bring myself to really do it. I couldn't imagine spending that on something that I can do on my PC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get you there.
Dan, you want to talk to us about the Castlevania Dominus collection?
Oh boy, do I. I don't know if I was just like under a rock or something, but I didn't even know this was in development.
Me neither.
Like
Me either.
Popped up on YouTube one day. I think it was part of the Nintendo Direct, actually.
Yeah, so people were clamoring for like the 3DS versions because they did the Game Boy Advance ones, and people actually wanted those. So I didn't actually like. I knew that they were probably going to do it at some point, but there was like no talk of it whatsoever. And then I'm on Steam one day, and it's just like there, and I'm like, holy crap! I need to get these because I played these games as a kid on my 3DS, and they're. So I'm just gonna say, like, if you're into like Castlevania, Metroidvania types, these three are probably like the best of the best that you're gonna get. Like Symphony of the Night is up there. Don't get me wrong, but like they really like with these 3D titles or 3DS titles, they really cleaned up a lot that Symphony of the Night didn't have, and they're just awesome titles. You got 3 games, well, actually 4 games. There's a 4th game on there. I don't think I've ever heard of. But it's like more of like a side scroller. And I think it was only released in Japan.
I think the Castlevania games have been pretty good about giving you a little extra, like those Castlevania collections. Like I have one for the Switch that's like all the original NES games, then a bunch of the Game Boy ones, and then a translated Japanese only Game Boy one called Kid Dracula or something like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on Steam, like through the picture previews. Like I remember seeing that game.
I've heard of it.
And then like, I think the Dracula X collection, the one with Dracula X and Symphony of the Night for PlayStation 4, also gives you another version. I think it gives you like Rondo of Blood or something like that, which I guess has some different levels and things. So they seem to be like pretty consistent about giving you a little something you haven't seen before.
Right.
So
yeah, well, considering the creator of Castlevania's kind of moved on, it's nice that Konami's still breathing life into the series. We're looking at you, Mega Man and Capcom.
I know. Seriously. Like any Mega Man game, like give me Mega Man X or give me a new Battle Network or give me Mega Man. Legends.
But yeah, that's sad.
Well, hey,
Yes.
there's that TV series coming up on Amazon, right? Called Secret Level,
Oh yeah.
where
So
like they're gonna have like episodes like Black Mirror style episodes like that are self-contained, and apparently one of them is going to be Mega Man, or at least contain Mega Man.
I saw someone post that in Discord, and I was so hyped for that when I like saw like the thumbnail, so I clicked on it, and then I just found it was like all like TV series, and I was like, oh, are you kidding me?
I think video game TV's been great, so I'm here for
It
it.
is, but it's just like I want my games too. Like I want more Mega Man. I
Boo
mean,
hoo. You take what you get, Mega Man fan. That's how we are.
you shut
We
up and you watch it, and
we
you'll
we,
like it.
we eat everybody else's trash as Mega Man fans. It's basically what it is.
Yeah, we'll
We're
just
the
cry
trash.
into our beer.
Yeah, we're the trash pandas of video game fans.
Yeah, retro gamers.
Yeah. Little Samson, it's mine. Boy. Um, yeah, so I'm kind of excited for that. And if it drums up new interest in Mega Man or revives interest, maybe it's a portent of things to come, Dan.
Yeah, then I'll be happy. Like if people ended up like watching like the Mega Man show that they make and it ends up doing really well, then yeah, then I would absolutely like that for them to like push another game out. Let's hope.
Fingers crossed. Steve, you had something you were interested in too, right? Something else, something caught your
Yeah,
eye?
so just like earlier this week, Banjo-Kazooie's original code has been like completely decompiled, which means now all of the code is like, what's the word, malleable. You can go in and you can, like, modding the game is going to be a lot easier for people, and making all kinds of cool like challenges
That's
or all
good.
kinds of things like Ocarina of Time did and Paper Mario, and a couple of those N64.
So
So
I have a question with that. Like, can they go back and like say make it more modern with the controls? Is that a thing that they can do, or does it have to have like its original controls?
I'm sure if I'm sure they could, if the entire code is available to like alter, I'm sure they could change any aspect of the game.
Yeah, because I think it would be sweet playing Banjo Kazooie with like a 360 camera
Man,
rather than just like.
he's so hard on Banjo Kazooie's camera. I really don't think it's that bad.
Me neither. I have no problems with it.
Well, it's just like me and Legends with. I don't think the camera's that bad at all, but like again, you didn't
It's
like
not.
it.
It's not.
It's just different
It's
strokes
too
for different folks.
slow. At least Banjo's is pretty responsive. You just can't like make it exactly as you want it unless you hold the R button.
Dude, angle cameras are dated. Come on now.
While it is on the inside.
We're three guys who like to play old games.
Yeah.
I swear
Quote,
we actually
like.
I swear we actually like to play old games. We don't sound like it sometimes, but we do.
Speaking of liking to play old games, this week's game, I did enjoy it.
It was fun. Definitely a hidden gem for sure.
Thanks for joining our episode, everyone. Just
Goodbye.
kidding. We're going to get into that game talk here.
This G42W, this game for 2 weeks, is a Bible edutainment game.
What does that mean?
It sounds like it, right? Little Samson, like Samson the
Yeah.
the mighty or whatever he is.
Little
I don't know.
Samson.
I'm not religious, right? But I know Samson's from the Bible. I know he's the strong guy, right? And I know that there's lots of Bible edutainment games on the NES.
Yeah, Bible Adventures.
Yeah, I blame that for
Little
this
Sammy.
game's lack of popularity initially. So it's a game published by Taito. It is a side-scrolling, just platforming game, I'd say. Very much so in the vein of Mega Man. Boy, does it have that Mega Man DNA.
Yeah, it really does.
It has that Capcom DNA, something hard, despite being published by Taito. And I think that's because one of the lead producers or developers on it was Shinichi Yoshimoto, who is, I think, most famous for his work on Ghouls and Goblins, or Ghosts and Goblins.
Ghosts and Goblins, yep.
Yeah, like he had a lot to do with that IP. So I really think that Capcom pedigree shines through here. And in fact, going into this, I thought it was a Capcom game until the minute I booted it up and saw the Taito
Yeah,
So
I mean, definitely does, like you said, has that DNA. Even if it was made by Capcom, I wouldn't have bat an eyelash at it.
yeah, and it's a pretty straightforward game. It was published in 1992, which is very late for the NES. The Super
Yeah.
NES was already out, so it's not surprising that that this game, didn't really see the light of day for many, many years. It is said that fewer than 10,000 copies were sold in the U.S. Were like made and sold, like they weren't taking a bet on it, and that shows now. Because if you were going to go collect this thing, I know I like to usually save this for the end of the episode, but if you're any kind of retro game collector, you probably are familiar with this game. But this cartridge loose will cost you a whopping 2 Gs, two
Wow.
big ones.
You could play it on your TV for about $800 if you get that thing we were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. You could get the Emu Deck
There you
and the
go.
controller and the wires to plug it into your TV, and then
No,
download it and play
you say
it that
Emu
way.
Deck, and I'm literally thinking like if Emu was a creature type in Magic.
Somebody's been playing too much Magic. You're welcome. I picked an NES game so you could play more Magic. But yeah, so you play as Samson, obviously the titular character. Love that word. And you play as also 3 of his friends throughout the adventure, trying to defeat the evil wizard. Do you guys know the evil wizard's name?
That's
Wizzy.
like Death Lord or something. It's something like real corny.
Yeah.
Little Wizzy.
But yeah.
Takid, the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah. So move from left to right, up and down, and beat Takid. Guys, what was the first, like, when you started playing this game, what was the first thing that really kind of jumped out at you as something unique?
Unique?
I thought, I mean, maybe it's not like crazy unique, but like when you first start moving, Samson, like his jump animation's like pretty wild for like a NES game. Like
Yeah.
I was actually surprised. Well, I mean, I guess that like really shows you that it was 92. But like his jump animation where he does like the 360 twirl is so smooth. And
I get so dizzy.
It's so unnecessary. I feel like they were doing it as like a flex
probably
on like every game that came before it. There's no reason for it, but every time Samson jumps, he 360s.
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, I guess they're gonna throw a bunch of Samson sprites at us like right out the gate.
I'd say like the first thing that popped out at me was the music. Not necessarily because I thought it was like really good or really bad or anything like that, but like it has real high energy right like as soon as you start the first level. So that was like the first thing that really popped out at me. And then it was like how similar I felt to Mega Man in a way with his throwing the bells. Like right to start, it just kind of felt a little bit like at home.
Yeah, and then like the wall climbing and the ceiling climbing too.
Yeah,
you get a taste of that like pretty early on.
that was going to be my answer. Actually, is that wall climbing? You get so many movement options in this game. Like, I don't know. I feel like platformers of this era, you either jump over the hole or fall in the hole and you're dead. But I feel like with this game, there's a lot of options as far as your movement goes and how you want to tackle obstacles just because of how they handle the climbing.
And this might not sound like a big deal, but it wasn't in Mega Man, is ducking. So like you can duck and actually like dodge mechanics, just by simply ducking.
As Samson only.
No, Kikira ducks too.
Kikira, yep.
Oh, I don't know. Kikira flies and has charge shots. So.
I mean, KO doesn't have to duck. So yeah,
he's auto ducking.
So like when you turn this game on, you're immediately hit with a after you hit start and go past the like initial cutscene, you are hit with like a stage select, right? So it feels very Mega Man off the bat. But when you go up and down and you look through the stages, your little character that you're selecting the stage with changes. So like those first 4 stages are like intro stages, which is such a cool thing for the NES to have done. Like I don't feel like we got intro stages until we got like Mega Man X.
Yeah, and then even then it was like with Mega Man X it was 1 intro stage. Like this one you get to pick out of 4, which is pretty unique.
Yeah, it's like a 3-part game almost. Like you have that intro phase where you have 4 stages and a boss, and then the second act is like the world. And the third act, there's like you're going to hear Mega Man a lot, but it's like a Wily castle at the end, right? After you get through the world. So it's like really neat 3-act type of a
Right.
game. Very
They must have took a lot of
concise.
inspiration from Mega Man. So I mean, they had to have.
Well, Mega Man
There's
sells
no
a
way.
lot. Let's just copy that.
And then we'll only make 10,000 copies of it because we have zero faith this is going to do well.
It was a timing issue.
You guys know what Samson's translated name is?
No.
All right, so I don't know what his actual game is called, but apparently he was called Lickle.
Little Lickle.
Yes.
I'm glad it's Little Samson.
Yeah, I think a lot of other people are too. I think they're like, yeah, no, we're not putting this out. It's 92.
Oh,
Do you know what these kids will say?
Little Tickle.
Want to come over to my house later and play some Lickle?
And eat some pickles. Oh boy.
No, Samson it is. So it's
Come over here and play Little Samson with me.
So guys, favorite character? 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1. KO the mouse.
Kikira. I love Kikira.
Oh, Dan.
He needs his charge shot.
All right.
The KO, that's such an easy answer. I mean, come on now.
All right, explain.
All right, so for one, like I understand like why KO is so broken, but like hear me out. You can glide as Kikira. You can jump really high. You can skip so much of the stage just by gliding over it. You also get a charge shot, which does, a crap ton of damage if you actually hit a boss with it. It's basically on par with, KO's, like, one of his little mines.
Hold up now.
I said one of them. I didn't say, like, 3 going off at once. HP is, I think it's, like, what, in between KO and Samson for the dragon? I think
yeah. I think he tops out at 8.
Yeah.
I think he starts at 4 and he tops at 8. And Samson tops at 10.
For the mouse, it's just like some of the bosses are like kind of hard to hit the landmine, like especially like the dragon when you're on the platforms. It can be a little tough trying to get that. With Kikira like destroys that boss with like the charge shot. I'm curious what you guys want to say about the mouse though, that I haven't said.
What's not to love?
He runs fast. He blows stuff up. What more could you ask for?
Go ahead, Steve. Gush about KO for a minute. You tell me.
Well, KO is not only he's the fastest character, but he's always ducking, which means like it's easier to dodge things.
But you get one shot by everything.
No, not if you got all of his upgrades. And so what he does is he drops a landmine wherever you attack, and you can have 3 out at a time, and they blow up to the left and the right of the center of this pellet that you drop. So one of the really fun things to do with KO is you jump and you spam your attack button, and when an enemy moves close enough to it, if you timed it right, you do massive damage. So you get to destroy bosses really quickly, and it's almost like a high skill ceiling, but really high reward if you can do it. Like the first time I played through the game, I played everybody to do like the regular obstacles, but the second time I played through the game, I tried to do it almost only with KO, and I had more fun not having to switch all the time and do all that, just running around blowing stuff up. It was just fun.
Yeah. With like the landmines, I've noticed that like if enemies like run into like the pellet before it blows up, it doesn't do near as much damage. It's like the actual explosion. I think the like one explosion, like how it like edges out. I think there's like 5 or 6 of those, and that's what like really does the damage. Is like those 5-6 things that are coming out that like really destroy them.
There's like degrees of damage in this game. Like there's some kind of damage calc going on, right? Because Samson's bells are like really, really weak, right? Like
garbage
he throws those bells, and you can have them come out fast. Like you can really, really, basically as fast as you can hit the controller, you can get those bells coming out. And it has its uses, but like damage wise, it's probably the weakest.
Oh, by far.
But like the pellets, even if the enemies run into them, it's still better damage than the bells. But then like you're right, when they blow up, I don't really understand the hitbox. Like you see visually the explosion go like center, left, right, center, or something like that. But it's like it never actually, like it keeps hitting the same hitbox for as long as the animation goes on. And you just see the boss's health bar take a complete nosedive, like whenever they get hit. And you can spam it. It's not just like oh, I can only throw out one pellet. You can throw out 3 at a time.
Yeah.
So like if
Like,
you know where the boss is gonna move, you just like 1, 2, 3, and then you wait for it to stop, and then like all 3 pellets
yeah.
blow up in its face, and you can just
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you time it right, you can literally turn a boss into a regular enemy. Like,
Yeah.
no joke.
Yeah, well, it's like high skill ceiling, right? But
yeah.
the thing about KO is he has got really low HP, like Dan said, and you are in danger of getting killed in one hit by certain enemies like the Reaper or the Dragon or whatever. Some of the bosses can kill KO in one hit, so you do have to be really careful placing your bombs. And the thing about this game is that if you lose somebody, excuse me, one of your 4 characters, you don't get them back until you get a game over.
Yeah, and I wanted to pause on that for a second. So these 4 intro levels that you play introduce you to each character, and during those levels you play as the character that is selected. And then after the first boss, you get free reign, basically a switch between characters Mega Man style. Like you pause and you pick your character. And we keep talking about HP values because like in this game you start with a health bar and you have like, I don't know what you want to call them, ticks. Like I call them ticks in Mega
Yeah,
Man,
they're
the
like
little lines
bars.
of health,
Yeah.
right? Bars, ticks, whatever.
Units, whatever.
So like Samson has like 4 ticks to start, and so does Kikira the dragon, and then Gam, I don't know how many he has. He has a lot.
Like 10.
Yeah, and then the mouse KO has 2. So he doesn't take a lot of hits, or some things just one shot him. Even in like his opening level, he gets one shot, right? But throughout the game, you find these items that almost look like little like boxing gloves inside a bubble. Like I don't know, it's kind of what I see, kind of like a mitten in a bubble.
It's a heart
Yeah.
inside the glass or
Yeah.
bubble
Yeah.
or whatever.
But it increases your HP, like your max HP for the rest of the game if you pick one of them up. So like Samson can have I think like 10 health, and like Kikira can have 8. The Golem I don't even know, like 14 or 16 or something like that.
Yeah, he gets
the
a
Golem's
lot.
name is Gam, by the way. And then the mouse can have like 6. And 6 late game, some bosses will still one shot you. So I guess I'll talk about Gam a little bit. So Gam, or G-Man as we all like to refer to him, he was a thief who was punished by being turned into a golem.
Yeah, he's basically who is it? The Thing on a Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
If the Thing and Captain Crunch fused, he's got the little Captain Crunch eyes that are like. But he's so his attack is like a punch, and you can aim the punch up and down, or just straight ahead, and it's got decent range, but it hits hard, and he takes a lot of hits. So
Right.
like, he's not good compared to the rest of the characters. Like,
I mean, he's got his uses, but yeah,
He does.
I would agree. I mean, he's got terrain immunity, like spike immunity, so he
Yeah.
can like walk on spikes and whatnot.
Can he walk on lava too? I think he can walk on lava too.
I'm not sure.
Wow.
I know
Never
spikes
did
at the
that.
very least.
Yeah, and like other stuff. But
He's,
yeah,
he's the slowest. I think he jumps the shortest length too. No like wall climbing or ceiling climbing, none of that.
I
like a
just
lot-
have. Oh,
Like
sorry,
a
go
lot
ahead.
of that, like you actually have to switch off of him to like progress some stages, just because he can't make the jump or he can't climb or.
And
which-
he's like a double wide, double tall sprite.
Yeah.
So like he's a big target too, and he gets hit more.
Yeah, he can't
Yeah, I
duck.
think he was made to like soak damage and fight bosses in between certain attacks.
Yeah, because like you can switch whenever you want, right? So there's a lot of bosses in this game, but there are instances where a boss will disappear and it's going to reappear, and if you're worried about it spawning on top of you because you're on your last hit, you switch to him, and he has a lot of HP, so he can just like take a hit if need be, and then you switch back to your DPS character and keep fighting. Like there's definitely a strategy element, right? And then like certain bosses he just excels at.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, where like he can just sit there, soak damage, and just play hit for hit, and his punch is a basely hit. Like
It is like he can actually kill some bosses before they can kill him.
Yeah,
So he definitely has
It's
his
got to
uses.
be that way. He's not very mobile.
Yeah, he definitely like every character has its uses. Like I actually think like out of like the 3 characters that you get, Samson's is probably like the least interesting. Like even though he can like wall climb and whatnot, I don't know. Like his attack to me is just so boring because it's so weak and it's just basically the pellet shots from Mega Man.
I find Kikira's attacks hard to aim with, though. It's like a fire that shoots out
Yeah,
like
you almost want to
a
be mid-range.
like a little dip, and then it like soars upward.
Yeah.
And if the enemies are too far away, it just soars right over their head.
It's pretty unique though, because it's like when it like dips down, it actually hits enemies that like Samson would need to duck for.
Yeah.
So like it has that going for it too, where it just auto hits enemies that are, low on the ground, like the slimes, for example.
Yeah, I would say Kakira is like a mid-range character, not a long-range character, unless it's up in the corner of the screen almost.
Yeah. But the charge shot is where it's at with
ABC.
Kikira. Yeah.
One of the Cable Club's mottos. ABC.
Very, very strong on bosses if you can hit it reliably.
Yeah. So this game, when you complete a level, it shows you on like a world map, and you don't get to control your character, but it sets you in like a new area in the world map, and then you enter and go to your level. This game is kind of neat in a way that, like, I guess it's not like the first time anything like this has happened, but there are branching paths. Yeah. Right? No, there's branching paths. I guess, in Castlevania 3, you got to choose your path. In this, it feels almost random because there's like hidden parameters to send you on different stages. So
yeah, like
it was kind of neat.
The one that I found was this is like a mermaid boss at like the river, but like you didn't even encounter the river sometimes, Steve, right?
No, well, I did. I forced myself to do the river, but the 2 times I played through the game, I got the ice castle.
Yeah, so the river one is like if you're fighting the boss, which is like this mermaid that's jumping up and down, you have to jump across these logs, and there's like a waterfall, and there's gaps, and you would think if you fell down the gap, you'd die. So you just don't do that, right? And if you're good and you beat the boss, without doing that, you'll never figure it out. But like I fell down the hole, and it didn't kill me. It took me to a different level.
Yeah, that's
where
wild.
Like Samson like loses the ability to call his friends, basically, and you have to play the whole level as Samson. You got to ride this like giant crab. It's like, it's a totally wild sentence that I'm speaking right now, but
no, I do like the fact that it does that. Like who would have thought that like in the middle of a boss fight, no less, that like there's like a hidden area that you can go to. I can't think of like, at least not off the top of my head, I can't think of another game that like does that. Like mid boss fight, there's like a hidden area to go to.
And then like Steve's saying about the ice castle, he must have just gotten so lucky with this or just never used potions. But apparently at like level 8, you have to have Samson like have a potion. And basically that's the mechanism that sends you to level 9. Otherwise you skip straight to level 10 and you never see the ice castle. But I could not figure out how to get into the ice castle for the life of me. I had to.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
And there's like a skeleton knight boss there.
Well, the ice castle sucks. So consider yourself lucky. You got it twice.
On. Nothing about this game sucks. This game rocks.
No, it's just an annoying level. Like there's these like wizard things that they get a cloud of ice around them and they shoot lightning bolts down at you and they block your path and you can't hit them when they get the thing around them. And then once you finally get past all that, there's an annoying section of like stutter, wall blocks, right? But it's ice. So when you jump and you land on it, you slide and hit the wall, and then it like pushes you off because you're slippery. So like climbing that was annoying. And after that, there's like this long staircase all of spikes that you have to do as Gam. And, the ice stage just is one of my least favorite of the stages that I played. So that's why I said that.
Fair enough.
I am really in love with a lot of these stages, though. My favorite one is the cave, like where you fight that weird like ghost
the
thing.
Skulls.
Yeah, but the platforming in that level is just so juicy. like you're jumping on like single blocks, and then the blocks disappear and reappear, but the disappearing blocks don't actually go away; they're still there. But
right.
Visually, you don't see them. But then there's like blocks that are like long walls, and then you have to jump from one of those to the other, but it's raised and there's spikes in the ceiling. You're not supposed to jump straight to the next one. You're supposed to like jump, hook back, grab on, then jump, hook on. Like the platforming is great.
Yeah, I
really think it's awesome.
I struggled a bit on that stage, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's hard.
I died a lot of lives on that stage.
I did the first time, yeah. The second time I played through, I was a lot more adept at it.
But it's like fair hard, right? Like once you figure out how to climb and you figure out like
Mostly.
how it works, like you don't feel like this game is jank.
So,
Yep.
yeah, well, wall clinging does feel like jank still sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I know the more you play it, the more used to it you get, but it is not as intuitive to me as Mega Man X.
Well, I think it's because it's like you have to hit a button to like actually cling onto the wall.
Yeah,
Like
like you have
Yeah.
to jump at the wall and press a button.
yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
automatic, which I think
Yeah.
throws a lot of like it throws us off a bit because like I know it in like Mega Man X, when you jump towards a wall, he's automatically starts sliding down the wall. You know,
Yeah. Well, it's still better than Ninja Gaiden's wall mechanics, but um, the timing is a little bit off. Just a little bit
I
off,
think I
enough
think
to
you're
tell.
right.
If you
Yeah,
get hit at the very moment where you go for the button press too, you get screwed out of it.
I know.
You just fall and die. But like you can be like flying as Kakira and run into a wall that you can't pass. Then you can hit start, you can switch to Samson or KO, and then you can grab the wall and keep going.
Yeah,
And
as
then you
long as
can
your
jump.
attack isn't out on the screen.
Yeah. You can't switch if you're in the middle of an attack. But like, and then you can like, circle around the wall, jump off, hit start, get Kakira again, keep gliding. Like you can do stuff like that. I really think it's cool. I absolutely love it.
It sure is better than switching between the four turtles
Yeah,
in
no,
the NES Turtles game.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
you just
switching
use
in this game is very responsive. I was surprised actually.
and even like during boss fights, like I was saying earlier, just to like switch over to Gam to take a hit that you can't dodge. Like or if you have a character that's about to die and you see the hit coming and you're not going to dodge it, you can like hit start, switch to
I
another
know. Yeah,
character and
there's like
take the damage.
literally like no cooldown. Like you can like
Yeah.
machine gun switch the characters in and out, which I mean, obviously I think it was intended, but I think it's a little tad bit busted.
It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it adds a lot of like depth to the game. That's a nice welcome to an NES game, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, sometimes busted things is good to it's good to have in a game, in my opinion. It just
There's
is.
so I think there's one thing that kind of bothers me a little bit. Almost bothers me like Mega Man 1 having points is like the health upgrades. Like your characters top out, but you keep finding health upgrades like through the rest
Yeah.
of the game. And they're just nothing burgers after all that. Like, and it's not that hard to top up your characters. I think
No.
within like the first 3 or so levels, your characters are probably all topped up.
Yeah, they are. It happens very fast. I think
Yeah, I
each
think they
character
should
can get
heal
two,
a little
right?
bit.
I think each character gets 2, except for Samson, who gets 3. He can go up to 10. He goes from 4 to 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
they should have made those all appear as like little hearts
Yeah,
after
or
you're capped.
maybe if they made them all worth 1 HP instead of 2, they would have felt a little bit better. Like even
Yeah,
a
the
small
little hearts
change
aren't
like
they
that.
one?
No, I mean the health upgrades. Maybe if they gave you 1 tick instead of 2, maybe it would have felt a little bit better.
Yeah,
You would have felt like
probably.
you had to collect more of them, right? Just
Yeah,
that one.
I think I
one
would have
simple
went that
change.
route too. It would have felt like a better progression system because, like you said, you cap out so fast.
Yeah, you would have having gone to collect from 12 of these things to like having to collect like I don't know 24 of them. That would feel like maybe halfway through the game you'd be at full strength
Yeah, that would have felt better.
because you never lose them. Even when you game over, you don't lose them. This is one of those infinite continue NES games. So
Yeah, it's very nice.
yeah, password system too. So if you
Yeah, the password's only 4 characters long, which is great. They definitely learned being more modern with passwords is definitely a good thing because we don't need like 4 lines of password just to continue our save. This is crazy.
four
Yeah,
four password like four characters is so good.
It
See,
really
they took a
is.
lot of inspiration from Mega Man, like we said, but not the password system.
No.
No, they
Definitely
did
not
not.
the password system. If you've been listening to the show long enough, you know our rancor for the Mega Man password system. That got progressively worse as the years went on.
Dookie.
So like I feel like for me, I'm placing this like I feel like top I really am thinking about putting in my top 5 NES platformers. I really am. Like, I think it's better than Castlevania, just straight up. Like, I had way more fun with this than I did with Castlevania.
I could see
Um,
that.
I think only because I feel like Mega Man is all the same platformer, and I don't feel that same way about Mario. I think Mario 1 and Mario 2 are different games, right? But like Mega Man is like all the same engine, just different levels, right?
Right.
So like, Mega Man would definitely still be in my top 5, if not maybe my favorite. But I don't know. This is really good.
It is. It for me, if it was in my top 5, I think it would just make it. It would be like 5. Because I do like Castlevania like slightly more, and it's probably not just the gameplay, but I just love like the environment of Castlevania. It's just so good.
Yeah,
The
I'm a
setting.
huge Castlevania
Yeah,
fan
I
as
love the
well.
setting.
Yeah, me too. But that first game is rough,
It is,
and the
and the
third game is not
music
much better.
and the music is so good in Castlevania too. So like sometimes like gameplay, like it's a lot for sure. Like it's the meat and potatoes of a game, but for me, I feel like it slightly edges out because of everything else that Castlevania has. But the gameplay, I feel like Little Samson is probably better because it feels so slick and smooth.
Yeah, I think I'm with Dan. Like, setting has a lot to do with me in Castlevania. Like, it's my favorite setting. Like, the gothic medieval horror is just like I'm drawn to it. So, like,
I
it
don't,
just that I just
you
I
guys didn't
love
feel it with
Castlevania.
the Little Samson setting. I feel like
No,
some of these levels are like that gothic castle with all the stained glass in the background and stuff. Like if you looked at the backgrounds in this game, they're like really well
Just the
done.
castle.
yeah, I honestly think like the music has to go with it too, and it just doesn't in Little Samson.
Yeah, fair enough. The music is good, but not necessarily correctly placed.
Well, it's static until the castle.
Yeah,
And even the castle's static. It has like one song in the castle. But when you're playing through this game, the music is based on the character you're playing, and it's just their song.
But the boss music is awesome.
It is. But so is in Vampire Killer.
Yep, it is. Yeah, but I guess
But
I'm just
yeah,
making the argument for this landing in the top 5, like where it lands for me. For me,
yeah,
like Castlevania's jank ages those first couple titles a lot. Like, is Little Samson a better series than Castlevania? No, of course not. It's not even a series. But like the game for NES, like which one would I rather play on most days? Like probably Little Samson personally.
yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, there's
And
nothing
like
wrong with that.
and like for that, now I'm kind of wondering, like in my mind, where it lands on NES platformers, because I think of games like Ninja Gaiden, I think of games like Mario 3, right? Like Kirby, I'm just like, oh man, I don't know. Like as far as like games that are stuck on the NES, I think like Little Samson's really, really good.
Yeah, like I said, like it's up there. Like for me, like it would be top 5 or just out of top 5. Like again, it would be right there.
yeah. I mean, it might make my top 5, but I would have to like really think about it. You know, there's stuff like not just the ones you guys named, but like DuckTales is extremely popular,
Yeah,
and a lot of people give it flack, but Zelda 2 is a platformer, and I had fun playing it.
yeah,
Zelda 2 is an ARPG, according to the
Oh
wiki.
yes, but it's still a platformer. Like
yeah.
you
There's
have to
platform
jump
in there. Yeah,
and
It's Metroidvania.
that game's so hard.
yeah, similarly.
Yeah. How about the bosses? I feel like just like the sprite designs in general in this game, I feel like are really, really good. Which is
Yeah,
not surprising given the year it came out and the system it came out for.
I just
But
like for me, like the boss fights were fun. Don't get me wrong; they did a real good job on the bosses. I just wish that they used a little more sprites for some of the bosses, because like a lot of the time you're fighting like those like wizards. Obviously they have like each wizard has like their own mechanics, but like
They're
visually,
different colors.
but
yeah,
they all transform into a monster.
yeah, they do. Like you get like a dragon, you get like a reaper, you get the dude like the knight with the sword and shield.
You get the Cyclops.
Yeah.
Yep, the Cyclops who throws the energy. you have the Master Wizard who turns into like some kind of dragon skull monster thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, the wizards all look the same, but then you find out they're all like magical beasts that all behave differently.
Right.
Well,
But
not only that, but the other levels, like you have the mermaid boss that Don fought.
yeah.
There's a skeletal knight that you fight in the ice castle, and they reuse bosses in the end of the game on normal mode.
I was gonna say that because I was like, I remember fighting the dragon boss with the platform twice. I was like, I could have sworn I fought this boss already.
Well, I mean, we're all Mega Man fans here,
Yeah.
right? And if you're
Yeah,
a Mega
that
Man
is
fan,
true,
you have
yeah.
to be a fan of the end
Yeah.
game boss gauntlet, which I am. I can't believe that bothers somebody. Listen, if you don't like bosses, you don't like video games.
Yeah,
I
that's
That's my
mean-
hot take.
yeah, that's not a hot take. That's definitely true. Like bosses are definitely like the more fun parts of like games in general. So
Don't you come at me with the Animal Crossing nonsense, okay? That's a job, it's not a game.
It's Tetris.
Yeah, Tetris now.
Boss is the kill screen.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My favorite game is Minecraft. Come on,
Aren't there bosses in that game? Isn't there like some kind of dragon you're supposed to kill at the end if you
Man,
are supposed to beat the game?
I have
Well,
no idea.
everybody, I guess we're gonna kick Dan off of the show.
What? Minecraft looks retro. Come
I
on.
mentioned some big changes next year, right?
Yikes. So, I've never played Minecraft seriously, just for anybody listening, but I just know it's not my cup of tea. So,
Fair
All
enough.
I'm saying is boss fights are a seriously important component of any game ever, in whatever form they take. And Little Samson nails the boss fights.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, but like games can be great without bosses. For example, Celeste has a very few amount of bosses.
Yes. Yep. And so does
And-
Banjo-Kazooie.
Right. So I like bosses for like the testing your skills and make sure that you've honed them properly, and I think it's a really good addition to games, but they don't always necessarily have to be very plentiful.
Yeah. I just like bosses because it breaks up the gameplay a little bit, rather than just like platforming all over the place. Now it's like you said it, like now you got an enemy that's going to test your skills to see if you can progress, and I think it's just like a nice balance between like bosses and stages, and so I'm a huge
I
fan
think
of
this
bosses.
game does a good job of
Yeah.
that. Like the levels don't last like really long time, and the bosses are generally fairly quick once you learn their patterns, and the flow of the game is pretty good.
I like that you have to learn the boss patterns, though, because if you play enough NES games, you start to learn that you can hit for hit a lot of bosses.
Yeah.
Like if you play an NES game with a health bar and with iframes, like you'll find a lot of times that bosses are just, you can stand there and just wail on them while they, like I'm thinking of Ninja Gaiden, the guy on the top of the tower there, the one with like the lightning powers that killed your father. That guy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name. It's like Malik or M something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
yeah.
one example, but like the NES library is full of that, and like I don't feel that way about the Little Samson bosses for the most part, except like the knight. If you have Gam at full health, you can like full to dead the knight, and But even with Gam, you have to move because if he touches you, with not an attack, he deals way more damage, and
Yeah.
you won't be able to do it. So you still have to like do-si-do back and forth with
Right.
him to
Yeah.
do that effectively. Like they just nailed it. Like,
The me germs damage in this game is outrageous. Like any boss that you touch, like just like like kind of like in Mega Man, you touch a boss, it just does like standard damage, like 3 units of health or 4, whatever it is.
yeah,
not
Dan,
this game.
Explain me germs damage.
Yeah, so me germs damage is basically when you touch a boss. It's not when they're like attacking you. It's just like you physically touching the boss and you take damage. And it's a term that we got going on called me germs. And
Where does it come from?
I think it comes from Mega Man, pretty much.
No, comes from Scary Movie 2.
It's my little.
They're,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He-
the pie or whatever it is. And he's got his messed up hand. Me germs, and he smears the pie all over the place.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So, anyways, like the me germs damage in Mega Man, like I was saying, is like standard, it's like 4 units of health. But like, you touch a boss, like especially as like KO, it's 99% of the time it's a one hit KO.
Yeah, your
No
bell
pun
explodes.
intended.
And then
Yeah.
like especially late, like for some reason bosses just the me germ damage just goes through the roof at like the end of the game. Like if you touch a boss, it's like 8 health. You're like, oh my god, what
Yeah.
happened?
There was a time where I don't remember what boss it was, but I was fighting a boss, and I switched to Samson, and at one point he must have touched me because I was like looking at my health, it was at full, and then I look at like a second later, and I was at like 2, and I'm like, oh my god, like
Yeah, you find out with the Reaper boss. Like
yeah,
that's like the first time it really happens to you. He spawns on top of you and like kills you from over half health. You're like, what happened?
I love the death sound that it makes too, like the bells going up, bing, when you die.
You explode into little bells. I don't know why the bells. I'm sure there's some kind of weird legend like behind all this, but like the whole point is that the creatures are the keepers of the bells, and there's like a magical bell that lets Samson switch between them. And that's like the premise of one of the levels where it gets like stolen, and you have to go and get it back from this weird little imp wizard guy. Like I don't know.
It was
It's
Pokemon. Pokemon before they were a Pokemon. It's like throwing out bells and releasing his minions to do his work.
I think level design wise, the game mixes it up a lot too. It's hard to feel like the stages are the same, really. And they don't do
Yeah,
a lot
only
of
a
cheap,
couple of them.
like, they don't do a lot of cheap stuff where it's like hard to get through, like without getting hit. There's like a couple of moments.
The cave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It feels cheap with those slimes on some of the platforms and those reappearing guys that try and snipe at you, the flame guys, and the spikes, and it feels that way. But once you play it and you get to kind of learn it, like almost any NES game, you just kind of get a feel for it, and you learn the patterns, and that's kind of like a big game design aspect of the time. So feels that way, but once you overcome it with that skill and experience, it's really rewarding.
Yeah. For sure.
so I want to talk a little bit about the last levels. This is where the game goes from like absolutely great to they kind of shit the bed a little bit on this last part of the game.
Why is that?
Which is unfortunate.
Do you think
but-
it's because of you don't get healed?
Yeah, so you go straight from fighting the Master Wizard, which is probably the hardest fight in the game, straight up. That boss where he like goes in the background, he shoots like the fireballs at you, and it's like a Yellow Devil style fight where you gotta like dodge the pattern.
Oh,
of
Yeah,
stuff,
he's the
right?
final boss of easy mode.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't play easy mode. I saw that and I'm like, yeah, that's not for me. But so after you fight him, you go to the Wily Castle, right? It's like a castle that comes up from the ground, floats in the sky, and they don't heal you. So if you limp through that boss and you got 1 health left on Samson and 2 health left on everybody else, maybe KO's dead, right? Like they're still dead.
They should have healed you at least the first time you entered the castle for the first time.
But there's no downside. Like, it's really just an inconvenience thing. So, even if your guys are all dead, if you get a game over or whatever, you just start at where you left off and, your guys are healed. So it's really just a convenience thing. It's really kind of like a dropping the ball in a non-serious way. It doesn't really make sense. But it's not really extremely hindering. It's just doesn't respect your time.
Yeah, like you're almost better off just taking a game over.
Yeah,
There,
absolutely.
Like, because even if you die and go back to the start of the level, the characters that are still alive don't heal the way that they do in all the other levels.
Yeah,
Up to this
really
point.
weird decision.
So like
Yeah.
it's you might find yourself in situations for those last 3 levels where it's better to just like take the game over and try it and like start
I
over.
really need GAM for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of neat because it does make you develop strategies for bosses. Like that knight, I struggled with him, and then
Yeah.
I figured out other ways to beat him because like I was like punching him to death with Gam, and then I like figured out how to get him with the mouse a little bit. I figured out how to get him with Samson a little bit and Kira because like I had to, but I thought he was the cheapest thing before like I was forced into that situation.
Yeah, he's probably the most annoying when it comes to me germs because he's like always inching towards you. And he just knows that like, yeah, this is the best form of damage, so I'm gonna try and touch you.
He inches towards you like an 18-wheeler would inch toward you.
Who is it? It's Mega Man 5, Train Man.
Yeah, he would.
His whole point's trying to touch you.
Yeah, Charge Man, yeah.
Charge
he
Man.
would trample Charge Man so badly it wouldn't even be funny. But yeah, and then I feel like the final boss was like his level was nothing. I feel like it didn't take long to get through that last level. It wasn't hard. And then I don't feel like his fight is all that hard either.
I feel like
No, the first
all
form's
things-
a joke with Gam.
yeah, I feel like all things considered, he's easier than the last boss in easy mode.
Yeah, the Master
that
Wizard is
wizard.
definitely worse than him for sure. Took a lot of L's on the Master Wizard.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, the first form of the final boss, like Dan was saying, so like his only attack is he stands over to the side and he shoots these little like swirling fireballs that could then go up in the middle of the screen, and if they're left alone, they explode and they damage the whole screen. You can't dodge them. So you have to kill the bullets as well as him. But that's it. That's his only move. So Gam one-shots the bullets, and he can direct his punches upward, and the bullet doesn't go high enough to avoid Gam's punch. And Gam, you can stand him at a position where it's just far enough where you can still punch the wizard in his gonads. And you just punch forward, punch up, punch forward, punch up, punch forward, punch up. That's how you kill the first form.
Yeah.
Just down.
I'll give you some me germs.
But even with Samson, though, like, you just keep jumping and shooting, and hit, like, there's nothing the boss can really do.
Yeah, it's pretty poorly designed.
Yeah. Which is weird for this game, because the rest of it, I think, the rest of the bosses are brilliantly designed. But this one, they were like, let's just phone it in. We're done. It's 1992.
Yeah, because even though you have different wizards and they all do a very similar thing, they shoot like lightning balls. They all shoot lightning balls a little differently, different patterns.
And they fly around different. Some of them teleport.
Yep.
Yeah, but like you can tell they used like all the same sprites and stuff, but they did change the way that each of the wizards fights you. So there is a variance in that too.
Bonus points, so to speak.
The last fight, or like the final boss, isn't too bad. Where I think they have like 3 or 4 different mechanics too, where it's like it tries to jump on you or throw the sword at you, and I think that they shoot like a fireball at you at some point.
Oh, he jumps up and he like scatters like knife fan fireballs at you.
Yeah, so I actually enjoyed that boss fight, no doubt. But like, obviously the form before that needs work.
His little jumping attack has nothing on the Dracula Cookie Monster. Hits harder than the Cookie Monster, though.
Yeah, for sure.
If he lands on you with that jump, he's stomp you into the ground.
Game over.
Pop KO like a little grape. All right, so I don't know. I feel like we've covered this game now. Was there anything else you guys had to say about it before we move over to the conclusion?
I think we covered all points pretty thoroughly.
Yeah. It's good stuff. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this episode up, fellas. So before we conclude this one, I just want to say that if you are watching this video up to this point and you're watching it on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button. We really love it when you do that. I think it costs you nothing, even in the algorithm's case. But you could also leave a comment if you're so inclined, because we do respond to those, and we do just like talking to people about retro games. And also, even better would be to join our Discord and become part of the conversation, where we talk about the game, the G42W, for 2 weeks while we play it, and share news and memes and play on a gaming couch on occasion. It's just an all-around good time, good way to get one-on-one access to us.
Absolutely.
And
hit that little Samson bell on YouTube.
Yeah, the little
subscribe.
Samson bell to get notifications, I guess. Yeah.
We need a little bell, like Xeno has.
Yeah, just
drummer, ding 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 ding.
If you're listening to us on one of the audio platforms, I think we're pretty much everywhere: Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, Pocket Casts, pretty much everywhere. Then go ahead and leave us a kind rating and review. That really, really helps us. I love seeing those, and they don't even have to be like, just be honest. If we're not doing something great, tell us, and we will hopefully improve.
We've gotten a lot of fairly positive feedback, but not a lot of negative feedback. So, I know that none of us are perfect, and sometimes the negative feedback is more important because we don't know what we're doing wrong. If you guys see something, I'm all for constructive criticism.
Yeah, for sure.
Knowing is half the battle. All right. So as far as Little Samson goes, I think that I just think it's like it's still called a hidden gem. You still find it on lists of hidden gems. I think if you're not a retro game aficionado, you probably might not have heard of it, right? Like if you only have a passing familiarity with the NES, you still might not have heard of it. But it is an excellent title. Like it's a masterclass on NES in both like the gameplay and the performance. Like if you play some of the later stage Mega Man games, those are really good too. But you find that those games like buckle under their own mechanics and they chug. Like this one, despite it seems being as robust as some of those, does not have like a whole lot of slowdown and stuff. Like it just, I don't know, they really knew what they were doing and they did it efficiently and effectively. I think.
Yeah, not unless you got 100 eyeballs on the screen.
Yeah, which does happen. You just start running away from them eventually.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Little Samson, takes a hit because of like how late it actually came out. Like, if this game came out in say like 1990 or 89, like I think it would have done so much better. And who knows, there could have been like a Little Samson like series, but unfortunately, that's just it came out too late. Which a lot of games seem to like suffer when they come out at the end of their life cycle. It's just they fall to the wayside because of like the new system and ooh.
Yeah, it's not necessarily because of the game. We're looking at you, Final Fantasy IX.
It's unfortunate.
But this is like a major catch it for me. Like if somebody says, name a few games for the NES that I have to play, this is definitely one of them. It just feels like it's modern. Like if somebody told me that this was a modern game created in like 2016 for the NES, how there are some people out there still coding games for those, I absolutely would have believed it 100%.
Yeah, like if this was like an indie title, like later in years. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a catch-up for me too. It's definitely a hidden gem. When Dawn announced it, I didn't even know what it was, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's basically Mega Man, pretty much. You get like 4 different characters. It's great. You get 4 different play styles, 4 different play styles to master. It's fun. I really enjoyed this title.
Yeah, it's a catch-it for me as well. I didn't just beat it once. I beat it twice, and I was practicing some of the early speedrun portions of the game just because I had fun playing it. So yeah, I think anybody that likes Nintendo, old NES stuff, this is definitely a game. If you haven't heard or played, it's worth a go.
I have to say, as far as ways to play it, it's like the NES. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked because if you go and you look, there are so many Taito collections throughout the years. How did this one not make it? There's some real garbage on the Taito collections. There's like Taito Legends. There's a Taito collections game called Taito Milestones for the Switch. Like, how did this one fly under the radar?
I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the sales, unfortunately. Which
but they produce so little copies. What do you want?
Yeah.
And no advertisement. There was no commercial for it. I looked.
That's the thing I hate what companies do. And I mean, I kind of understand, but it's just like when a game doesn't do well, like because of sales, they almost like throw it to the wayside, and that's what happened with like Mega Man Legends. It's like because Mega Man Legends 2 didn't hit that point that they wanted, they just were like, well, we're just going to scrap the series. And I hate when companies do that, even though I understand it. I hate it.
It's like an author that won't release the 3rd book in a trilogy.
Can you guys imagine if Little Samson like took the same path that Castlevania did? Like, eventually it made the jump to 3D. Eventually it made the gritty, like, angsty, like, PlayStation 2 releases the way that Castlevania did. You'd have, like, be like, Little Samson? He'd be like, it's just Samson now.
Brock Samson now.
He's, like, punching people and stealing cars and stuff, and, like...
It's not Samson anymore. It's damn son.
It's damn son. Samson, what happened to KO? He's been dead for years. He was a mouse. He only lived to 2 years old.
I ate him.
The cat got him.
It's just like, yeah. I don't know. It would have been great. Worlds that could have been.
I would say we're living in the worst timeline, but at least we did get Little Samson, so
It's just Samson now.
Slamming Sammy.
Oh man. Alright, so next game. We're gonna set Little Samson aside. You wanna talk about the next game? We did a viewer pool. You gonna get us a random game, Steve?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
What's in the pool? Tell us what's in the pool.
All right, so in the pool, we currently have Return of Shinobi for the Genesis.
It's a
We
repeat
have
customer. I love it.
Shinobi
Oh,
is
yeah.
back.
Chef Doug. Let's see. Viewer pool submissions here. If anybody wants to submit a viewer pool submission, we have that on our Discord. So
Yeah,
Just so
if you're wondering
you
where
all
these
know.
came from.
Yeah, get those submissions in.
You could also alternatively write into thecableclub@gmail.com. But you have to know it's coming up.
right. We have Rocky Rodent for the Super Nintendo, Snake Rattle and Roll for the NES, Donkey Kong 64,
Woo!
Star Wars Demolition. I don't know what system that's on. Dreamcast. We got 2 votes for Super Smash Bros. Melee. Revenge of Shinobi, like I said.
Is that 2 votes for Revenge of Shinobi or just 1?
Just the one.
Okay. All right. Well, it feels like a pretty good lineup.
Snatcher and Corpse Killer for the Sega CD.
You cannot be serious. That game's not even complete.
Light them up.
Light them up.
That's some of the most legendary, terrible cutscenes.
I like your piece, man.
Yeah, dude.
That are,
Corpse Killer, man.
yeah.
All right, well, we got them in a little spreadsheet here, and randomizing now.
No whammy, no whammy, no corpse killer, no corpse killer, no corpse killer.
That would be hilarious.
All right, we are going back to 2001.
Is that after corpse killer?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Just after Corpse Killer. The Sega CD is 90s.
Goodness.
We are playing a game that has an extremely grand legacy. It is arguably more popular than any of the games after it.
Like any game ever after it?
No,
or any
in
game
the series.
Okay.
Arguably.
Because this is Steve talking, I think I know which game it is.
Well, the thing about this game is that even though it is 23 years old, it is still played competitively at a level that is hard to find on any other fighting game in this long of a time. Usually the new games replace the old ones in these series. But we're going to go back and play some Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Very nice. I'm excited.
Melee!
I'm
Jigglypuff.
Good stuff.
Best version of Big Blue ever. Just saying.
Bow, 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 bow.
What a game. I love the Super Smash Bros. Series.
Yeah, man, they took fighters and just completely threw it on its head.
They really
the
did.
mashup of all the characters, I've always loved that. I like Marvel vs. Capcom for the same reason. It's good. I love it. Love crossovers.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
And we have a long history with it, so.
Yeah, we really do. High school, anyone?
It's going to be a fun episode.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, if you're here at the end of this episode, I want to let you know that Steve and I did a little challenge where we speed run race each other through the first 4 levels of Little Samson. That'll be a video that's going up soon, so head over to our YouTube channel and go check that out in a few days. And while you're over there, hit the subscribe button too.
Yeah. Definitely check it out. It's going to be awesome.
Leave a comment and make fun of any mistakes we've made, or tell us we did a good job, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Tell me
we're
my
all excited.
commentary sucks. I'll just only cry for 20 minutes. I swear.
Criticize Dan's commentary,
His commentary is worse than my gameplay. That's a win, right?
Tell me that I was 3 seconds behind world record or something. Let us know.
Well, after that second shameless plug, game over, fellas.
Game over.
Game over.